So first, go Ravens, obviously. Purple for DISA and Ravens. Tamika, how are you today, my dear? Right, would you stand right here? No, please. Right here and turn to face the audience. So you saw this lookbook? Let me tell you the story of the lookbook. This wonderful person in front of me said, we're going to have your lookbook. Do not look at what Charles Osborne did. Do not look at what Jason Martin did to be on the front of the cover. Well, these little slivers, your face will be like this big, little slivers. We'll put all the other 1102s will be beside you. You'll be in the middle. It's the man. I'm like, okay, I can do this. Then I get this. Mr. Packard, do you have a moment for me? I said, always for you, Tamika. That smile, who could say no? The yellow, she's a ray of sunshine. Well, I ran into a problem 8 months ago. I really need you to be on the final cover of that, and I need you on top of the world. So she's the reason if you put that in your desk, have to look at it, it's her fault. All right? Thank you, ma'am. To my colleagues, who comes and says, I want a lookbook, you are guaranteed on the cover. So do not go for this, oh, we'll make you really small. Doesn't work. So, but for Tamika, we'll do anything for her, right? So, hey, General Yee, having a good day?
I just want to know why. Tony Monteverano wants to know why he's standing on Italy.
Oh. You never know what to expect from this side. Anyway, I have the mic right now. So he stayed with us all day. I don't think we've ever had an SPE. I think I forgot to tell him, you can leave after lunch if you want to. But he has stayed with us all day. And I see him maybe once a week, maybe a couple times a week. Doug, come up here. I got a great idea. Okay, yeah, let me run up there real quick. But he has been phenomenally engaged in what we do, how we do it, challenging. When I say we're going to do X, well, why don't you do Y? I think Y is better. So he's been a great challenge to, when you kind of challenge the status quo, it always develops some kind of improvement. So so thanks for spending the whole day with us and the engagement, sir. So for Carl, I went and got Carl and said, hey, we're running way ahead of time. So I don't know if ahead of time is good or bad. I think ahead of time means there's a lot of time being spent networking and in the program rooms, which is the meat of this event and not necessarily a static brief from individuals here. But I'm glad you were able to see the PMs do their briefing. So I told Carlin, I said, Carlin, running ahead of time, I love your chart, so you have as much time as you need. So we went to install our charts, and I thought we'd have a lot more that we couldn't fit everything in today, right? So Carlin had a lot of charts, a lot of discussion topics, and I said, well, Carlin, you have this much time? I don't know. I'm kind of worried it'd be too much. If you put out 10 charts, you'll be 5. An audience will feel cheated. Let's just go with some smaller number of charts. She said, okay. I said, by the way, those charts that she briefed, I love those charts. Certain things she says, I cannot say in my role, or is it 1102, but Carlin can. She's your advocate. She's your mentor. What does a mentor do? They tell you, okay, that's stupid and dumb. Here's how I need to do it, right? That's the advance. You have someone that's candidly tells you how things are. So phenomenal charts. So I'm glad we were able to give Carlin a lot of time to talk about those. Are phenomenal charts. So thanks very much, Carlin. All right, 2 last comments before I get into my slides. One is the hub zone. So I mentioned the hub zone percentage, 3% from the department level. We have a 1.5%. We made 2.8%. What I'll tell you is this. 2 years ago, we were $83 million about, or $60-some million. And we thought, you know what? We're going to have a separate source of salt for hub zones to draw them in. Sharon Jones' belief was if you get over $100 million, there's no going back. So when I think of the question, I think of congratulations, DISA, for going from $83 or $60 million to $183 last year is phenomenal growth. Phenomenal growth. So I think it's really a success story of the team. And last, is Evelyn De Palma still here somewhere? Yay, nay? I can't see if she's standing up. Well, if anyone knows Evelyn De Palma, she knows a lot of you. So she is me 2 times ago. So everyone in their career has a phone a friend. If there are things we're doing well, not doing well, a question you want to ask me, don't know how to ask me, she is my phone a friend. When I prepare for these, I call up. She goes, oh, I was waiting when you're going to call me, Evelyn. Is forecast coming up? What do you want me to say or not say? How do you want us to do or not to engage? What should be the format? So any questions, comments, whatever, you don't want to ask them directly, as you always can, to myself, to Carlin, to someone that I work with, to DISA writ large. My phone a friend is Evelyn. And Diane McCoy, when she's around, she's my phone friend too. So reach out to them if there's something you want to share with us. All right, so we can go to the next slide. There you go. So real quick on our business base, I was surprised, given where we were early in the summer, that we'd have a business base of $6.6 billion, $500 million more than we've ever spent obligated within DISA, 7,000 plus individual contracts, 50,000 contract action, which means if I do incremental funding, modification, et cetera, that's a contract action that they report to the Congress. But about 7,000 plus contracts, which is a lot of volume for a 530 person organization. For competition, so we exceeded our competition goal assigned by the department by 4%. Second time we exceeded our competition goal, the year before, not FY18, but FY17, we exceeded our goal. We exceeded our goal competition twice in the known history of DISA. That's a huge compliment. So sole sources are just not something when I get on my desk. Generally, you get Cs of about $93 million. And, oh, yeah, great. What do I sign? It's no. Come tell me why. Let me read why. No one else in the entire world can do this but company X. And why can't company Z do it? So I'm really proud of what we do to make sure it's a good competitive environment. We get better solutions, and I think better partnerships in the end. The last is Carlin Brief was our, not just as 29.1%, but $1.86 billion to small business, a phenomenal amount for an organization with the spend that DISA has to obligate in a fiscal year. Okay, let me go. I want to discuss several questions I get throughout a year. I want to discuss them here at this point and a couple of new things. So one is use of DISA versus non-DISA contracts is a very constant question I get. So the answer is this. We have an Encore 3. We have SETI, large business, small business, come a long way very, very shortly, I'm thinking. We have agency program services, program support services. So we have these contracts that we award as DISA as a premier contract. You have a contracts guide I mentioned earlier that has a contract list on there. If it is a DISA premier contract, I intend to use them. We did not award Encore, SETI, APS to sit on a shelf and admire that. Boy, it was a pretty sore selection. We award the contracts to use them because there's a niche of what we need and partners we need within our space. That being said, as I've discussed this at several successive forecast industry, that does not mean that we're not going to use GSA. We're going to use GSA. We're going to use the NIH Contract Suite. We're going to use NASA Soup as a wonderful vehicle for hardware. All the vehicles out there we're going to continue to use. The vehicles that we have as premier contracts with DISA, we're going to use them too, okay? Next, so GSA order level materials, which is the time and material claim on a GSA contract. So before, very recent, to award a contract order on a schedule, you had to have fixed price. So if you had your ODCs, your other direct costs, they were some type of cost item because you only define what the cost would be. We could not use the GSA contract. GSA's workaround to that is this concept called order level materials. They've had variation of this in maybe the past 20, 30 years. But this is a way to access the contract and with certain parameters to have those type costs of other direct costs as T&M to be able to use those contracts. That significantly changed the number of times that we will use a GSA contract by quite a bit. Okay, so that was a great success where the GSA figured out intellectually and through the Congress really how to do this. Next, order proposals. So back in the 90s, so I do date myself, back in the 90s, they had this concept called order proposals. Had its successes, had its failures. We went into 9/11, and quickly we became enterprise services went out. Everyone had to have their own. Everyone had to be speed. Everyone had to do other different things. And all these nice acquisition reform tools we had in the Clinton administration went by the wayside. It was focused on this warfighting event, and whatever was able to help them didn't matter. We were all going to go down a different path, right? So a lot of things we had goodness kind of went away. One of those was order proposals. So you write this proposal, and you hire someone to write your proposal for you. It's 100 pages long, and it's beautiful. It's pretty. Might not have been spell checked, but it looks good on a piece of paper, right? So why not just say for your organizational structure and your management approach, why don't you just give me on a chart your wiring diagram and I can figure out what's on the wiring diagram by title. Chart 2, tell me who's dedicated to the contract and what their function is. I am done. Why do I need 25 pages to tell me that? Because what's it do in the reality? I want to know who you committed, who can we call when there's a problem, and how that affects your G&A. All that other stuff, does anyone really care? Really? You're paying for it. We don't put that in the proposal, but we know the proposal of who your key personnel are, right? So there's a lot of time we spend writing these things in proposals that really has no intrinsic value to you and no intrinsic value to me as the government. So what we're going to do, we have not used these, I don't think, in DISA ever that I can find. We're going to start small. I'd offered to Kresge, the DITCO NCR chief, that we have this really cool kind of called SETI. It's all about innovation. Why don't we use some innovative way to procure? It's not that innovative. It's we're going back to the past and pulling out something, the toolkit that I think could work. So we'll start very small. On a study, I've challenged the team that I work with, is anything you have on the oral proposals, bring it and we'll figure out a way to do it. But let's start small. Let's start with industry, with our partnerships, and go in that path. But I think it'll save a lot of time, could diametrically change how long we take to evaluate proposals and have some great one-on-one dialogue. Everything can't be an oral. Maybe it's part of it's an oral. And then after that point, give us a written technical proposal and a very concise technical solution. But maybe whittling down those pages to a very, very small time frame. Okay, how many folks in the audience work in the telecom space? Okay, so quite a few. So you're probably aware that we go to buy circuits and we make an award and they go on, and they go on, and they go on. And by the time you get done, I don't know when you awarded it, is long past the useful life that the law and regulations allow us to have a contract, but it's just continuing to go on and on and on. And oh, by the way, the mission partner, they have no idea what the circuit's doing. And in fact, some circuits, we haven't used it in 5 years. Oh, we kind of forgot to tell you to turn it off. Okay, you kind of forgot $25,000 a month because it was your Army, Air Force, Department bill. So as you go through these factors of you need to reduce your costs, et cetera, you just pay for something you absolutely did not use at all. Do you want to tell your service chief that, or should I, which had a couple phone calls, why haven't you done this? Well, because you're in the requirement, you didn't tell me to do it. Why did I pay for 5 years? Here's the person's name and their executive. Why don't you ask them? I didn't tell you to give me money every month for the last 3 to 4 years. Call them and ask them. So given that, and through some audits we've had, we found what some of those are, several hundreds of those that we've had out there. Some needed service we needed, some we did not. So we have a store within the built-within storefront interaction, which allows the mission partners 24/7, 365 to track their circuits. You have the parents and the child. No one even knew what they were associated. So when you turn off a parent circuit and there's several child circuits running it, they're all linked in through the database. So it should be a great tool for the customer to manage their portfolio. When DISA buys services at enterprise service, I don't manage an IT portfolio for the Army, for the Air Force, and the Navy, DCMA. I buy for them, so I'm not going to manage their circuit portfolio for a service or department. It's just not what I do as 1102. So that should be a great tool with having things in where they need to end, procuring them on time. So instead of saying, oh, I need a proposal in 2 days, that's because we're late. Well, that's not real fair, is it? Because it cuts your competition, cuts your time. If you're new, it cuts your time down. Who can bid? The incumbent. Well, that's not real fair to just have the incumbent competitive edge. So this should have a lot of utility within the telecom space. To come, I think it's still to come this quarter is more expecting to be rolled out. And last is kind of an internal plug, but I talked about my phone a friend. So keep that in mind as I give you this last bullet. So in the 90s, again, I date myself, we had this thing under Clinton administration called the Reinvention Lab. Okay, we had it in the DOD, and it was profoundly the most change I've seen in acquisition in my entire 30 years. Nothing's come, this agility, agile, yeah, whatever. The Reinvention Lab changed diametrically what we did as the DOD, how we delivered services. So within my organization, we've had a couple times we've had individuals come in and do some work about, why are we doing this way, why don't we do it this way? So we retitled that a Reinvention Lab to get after what some of the hard problems are. Let me give an internal one we had. So you do a J&A for sole source, right? You've seen them all, you know about them all in this industry, right? So you do J&A that there's a sole source. At a certain dollar level, it comes up to individual that I appoint. Higher dollar level, it comes up to me. The highest dollar level, it goes to generally as the senior procurement executive. So 370 times in a year, we did a written 4 to 6 page justification for why we need to go sole source 370 times. In the summer, we did one J&A to cover all those 370. So for 7 years, my tenure within DISA, well before that 7 years, we've done this 369 times to ourselves. So we've changed it. We don't do those. We do one class, claim it, and you're done. We don't write up those documents. It takes a lot of workload. So are there things in your space that you see us do as a DISA that are like, do you really know how much time this takes you and me? It could be, why don't you go to oral proposals sooner? Maybe that's the solution. So as you see these things about, you don't really recognize, outside seeing into what you're doing, but some of this stuff, how it impacts and what it's doing to you, the time it's taking, and there's zero value add when you put out a document, zero value add. As you have those, send them to me if you want to directly. Send them to any 1102, any leadership person on my team, send it to General Yee, send it to whomever. Phone my friend Evelyn De Palma, and she will certainly get it to me, and just, here's a suggestion. You don't need where it came from. Just make this work, make this happen. So, offer it to our internal process, because I know if I'm casting stones at things we've done for a long while and eliminating them or streamlining them for my internal processes, there has got to be at least one idea in this audience, something I'm doing externally that can be fixed. And those suggestions that I want to come in here from the floor also. All right. Okay, finding acquisition opportunities. So our last update, so I mentioned on our DISA/DITCO webpage, there's a list of opportunities. I think it's 263 items, I believe, is the number of line items, has contact officer names, range of values, whether it's been small business, security classifications, et cetera, et cetera. So we last published that list April of 2019. We published it about the 18th of October of last month. We'll publish again ahead April 2020. That really links into AFCEA, so I think the answer is going to be it'll be in May. We'll put it out maybe 3 to 4 weeks, maybe the first part of May to coincide with AFCEA. But go to the website. That has all opportunities you saw here are a fraction of a point of the large contracts that the PMs track and focus and maybe sleep it over at night about how they're going to deliver something to the agency or the warfighter. That list has everything. I think it's above $10 million. So it's a lot of workload out there in a lot of different spaces. This just gives you a thumbnail. Those tables gave you the full spectrum of what their needs are. That spreadsheet gives you the finite detail of what those defined needs are. All right, some of them are new opportunities. Some of them are just, not just, some of them are recompetes or competitive follow-ons. If the sole source will tell you sole source, you think it's sole source, I can do that, call someone and let them know you can do it. That's how sole sources are eliminated. That's how we reach a different competition achievement within the agency. All right, acquisition opportunities. The first one should be the NS 2020 transition. So if you're in the telecom space, the EIS, which is Enterprise Infrastructure Solutions. Whew. Okay, so this is basically your telecommunications offering. So we have about 50 planned RFQs. We've made one award. I believe there's 1 or 2 right now in source selection. There's about 17 RFPs issued out of that 50. These are transition all current work. They're transition task orders from networks to EIS for all current known portfolio of circuit requirements. All right. So of that, there's a commercial Ethernet gateway. If you want to know more about it, yes. I don't know if Kevin's in here or not. So find young Kevin Eversgard. He's a genius behind a lot of this we buy in telecom. He can talk about the KEG and what it's doing in the regions. I think there's 11 or 12 regions within the U.S. He can lay that out for you, lay out the plan. If you talk to Andy Gomer or Charles, they can also lay out the plan for that. A great plan. It is not duplicative and not meant to be a VIS. It is complementary to services that DISA provides writ large. All right. Second, there's one requirement that was pulled out from that 50 that I mentioned to you that were planned, which is, I guess, I don't know if VISP is the acronym or not, but it's Voice Internet Service Provider, like a VoIP-like solution. So that was pulled out from this EIS. It'll be a FedBizOps type of notification, or FedBizOps sister up, since that's going away. Being competitively announced, very, very early planning process, but for that type of work, if you're looking for that to come out through the EIS, you're kind of wondering why it's not there. It's purposely not there for a reason, and that'll be a separate request that will come out. If you want more information, Kevin, Charles, Andy Gomer, any of the folks now, you can explain to you what that process is going to look like. All right. Next should be the DREN 4. So DREN 1 was AT&T. DREN 2 is Verizon. DREN 3 is currently CenturyLink. This is a recompete. We're well ahead of the power curve on getting the RFP released. This high-performing computing modernization program office is a phenomenal mission partner. Everything you do is always in advance of need, always, always. So we're well ahead of the game on this. This is RFP first quarter FY20. In fact, Kevin, when I ran into him earlier today, just last week, he was reviewing the final RFP. So that should come out, if not next week, maybe the week after. I think it goes to Mr. McCurry for review. It'll be issued out very soon. So if not next week, I would say certainly the week after. All right? Okay. Next is CTSS, which is Communications Technical Support Services. This is support for the Combined Air Operations Center. That kind of will recompete at the Ditko Scott for the Air Force out at Bowling. Okay. Current provider is GTIT as incumbent contractor, multi-million-dollar contract, single award IDIQ, because a lot of variability in the service we provide and the CAOC out deployed. RFP release second quarter FY20 and award projected for fourth quarter of this fiscal year. All right. Next gen low device. So Army PEO, yeah, Army, right, sir? The Army. So General U wants a lot of competition on this one. This is so this is certified cryptographic key type of work, so very complex and specific type of work. So the draft went out and closed. The draft RFP went out in October. It closed. There's about 300 questions. So we do think in second quarter FY20 that the RFP will come out. So if you participated, provide the questions, great. They're in review now, and those will help mold what the final RFP is that's going to be issued out in the second quarter of FY20. All right, MBIS. So MBIS was going to transition out to the Defense Counterintelligence and Security Agency. They're still within, I understand, within DISA for about another year under their AdCon. So the agreement we have, procurement-wise, is contracts we award within the DITCO for the MBIS. We will make the award. If it's a 2-year contract, we administer it for 2 years. If it's a base plus 4 options, we administer it for base plus 4 option years. We'll administer the contract for its term. Next year, when they have fully transitioned, then they have their own procurement office, they can come to DITCO as an external mission partner, but they won't. That's if they come. If they choose not to, they choose to use our organic buying capability, go to the Marine Corps, go to whomever. That's our prerogative. So if we award a contract, this one being Pacific One, if we award it, we'll make the award and we'll administer it until the contract expires through its natural life, okay? But at some point, Terry Carpenter and the team will make the decision about who their contract office will be. Could very well be the DITCO, but if not, certainly that's their call as the program executive to make. Military Sea Lift Command. So the recompete of the cybersecurity support services. So it's the support, vulnerability management, and the cybersecurity site visits. So I looked at that and I was reading it and I thought, well, that's kind of cool. It's Military Sea Lift Command and a site visits. I'm thinking Hawaii and all these nice blue water ports. That might be a cool, fun contract to have. Kingfisher is the current incumbent on the contract, and it is slated to go out the fourth quarter of FY20. Right. And next should be DSO. All right. So DSO has a very small industrial base that supports Spectrum. It is something we really would like to see build. So about 2 years ago, 2017 timeframe, we had one large contract for a long period of time, and we broke those out into individual contract actions to, one, introduce competition, build an industrial base, and competition can get better prices, better technical solutions, et cetera. So we split those out, the big one we had, into 3 large contracts. We have a lot of small actions we do time and time again for the DSO. But these are the 3 awards we have planned. Those dates are very, very much on track. Again, it's a small industrial base. We do a lot of market research to try to build that niche. The solutions for your niche is a little bit off because of those 3. There's a separate niche of 2 of those. Could be some other type of deliverable for the department that's better, more cost-effective, more efficient, quicker. Then that's the information we need at this point to understand, do we have the right 3 contracts picked out? Should there be 2? Should there be 5? That's what we really don't know. The market research that Kresge and team are doing is going to help himself, his contract officers, and the DSO figure out what the right posture is for that contract portfolio. All right? And then next are, so 3 OTAs that I'll just mention. So let me see real quick. Yeah, the first two have not come. So when we do an other transaction authority, the agreement comes in a form for myself to sign that it meets a prototype, that it meets certain parts of the law. So these first two have not come to us in a written format for us to say, yes, it's approved, and yes, we're going to go out for the request for white papers. On the chart you see, on the bottom description of JSP Big Data Analytics, that is not the correct definition of that program. That's the definition for the program on chart 138. Okay, but that particular one is what it says. It is the GSP Big Data Analytics Platform. There's some data lake kind of requirements they have in it. Again, these have not, even though it says first quarter for that particular one, I don't think that will occur in first quarter. I think it'll be a little bit early in the early second quarter of FY20. All right. And last chart that I have is an OTA for NetOps for ICANN prototype. So this one closes the 14th of November. I think it's 12 noon Central Standard Time, but don't take this as your authoritative closing date for the request for white papers. So they're actually waiting questions now. So if this looks like something that's in your sweet spot, something you can deliver that you haven't seen or heard of, take a look. If you go to Dreamport, www.dreamport, I think it might be .gov, but check out Dreamport. You go to a portal that Cybercom manages. We load all of our OTs on that port. It is simple to navigate. When you look at it, it's very easy to read. It lays out very clearly what we're trying to buy. It has attachments to the documents if you need to have more information, but a great source. They have I won't say all, they have a lot of Fourth Estate OTAs on there. They wouldn't have Army or the Air Force, but what they have in the Fourth Estate, Cybercom, that IT space, the intelligence community, they're posting their information there for OTAs. So we're not just at this site. So if you've been on to Dreamport, do a Google, do a Bing, whichever source you use for your internet searches. Go to the site and check out. You'll see a lot of other information out there on OTAs for across the department. Okay, so that's all my prepared remarks. I don't know what the record is on questions, but let's see, Voice of DISA, if I exceed the record or not.
We do have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
First, what is DISA doing to learn more about how industry operates and the challenges that we face in preparing for and pursuing opportunities?
I don't know how to answer that. What am I doing to understand how industry prepares to respond to RFPs? Is that the question?
The question is, what is DISA doing to learn more about how industry operates and the challenges that we in industry face in preparing for and pursuing opportunities?
Dude, that's a good question. I honestly do not think I have an answer for it. I'm sorry, apologize, whoever asked the question. Catch me separately, and I'll see if I can understand more about maybe what you expected the answer to be. But honestly, I don't. Unless one of my colleagues do, I don't know quite off the top of my head how to approach the question.
All right. Our next question is regarding contracting opportunities with innovation options. What is defined as an option?
Oh, option could be a lot of things. For innovation option, it could be for an OTA prototype. Pretty much the entire thing is innovation. For a delivery of an ecosystem, it could be how to provide one node in the process. For software-defined networking, it could be how to make two computers link. So I think a lot of times the question will become, can I have innovation contract? Well, I don't know what that is either. But with any contract, you can innovate in how you provide services, how you provide the service to the government. Innovation could be as simple as, again, delivery mode. Innovation could be, well, I have one senior program manager and 3 subordinates to work on it. Maybe you should flip around. Maybe there's 3 senior people and 1 person to provide an oversight of it. So innovation is not just, I want an innovation contract. Options could be, well, you name the option. The best value trade-off, if you don't tell me the innovation, that's your competition to win that then, right? Innovation is not necessarily how I define it. Innovation is what is proposed in what is provided in a proposal and what is delivered. If I'm understanding the question, I'll offer back to you is you really define what innovation option is. And you provide that to the government as an alternative in this form, on the program tables and a capability brief, or a proposal. I would offer to you the capability briefs to a program manager are probably the best way to do it versus coming to this forum or putting in a proposal where, that innovation we wanted, well, where are you going to go from there? Because we don't quite understand. It was a little bit outside the norm. More in the norm might be the proposal that's selected for the contract, because there's a lot of risk in the proposal. So I would offer that there's capability times. It's when to have the innovation discussion to make sure, one, does it scale? And two, is it something we want? And three, is it something we're willing to pay for? Our budget is not infinite. You get the best bills and what you want. I want those. I can't afford half of what you just proposed to me, so I can't award anything on your proposal. So it certainly is a balance. I think in those capability briefings, you kind of learn very quickly what's innovation space and what's the trade space price versus the technical and quality of technical solutions. All right, Jim?
With DESS 2 having been scrapped, when will DISA look to do another competitive multiple award hub zone IDIQ contract?
For desk-like services, I do not anticipate that we'll do that. But many hub zones, but for that particular work, we would not anticipate doing a hub zone set aside for the similar work.
Your final question, sir. Under OTA, can a company submit more than one paper to a request for white paper?
I don't know. We'll get you an answer, but I don't know the answer to the question. Because let me just add, so when you submit a proposal to a FAR-based requirement, you submit your proposal and you have alternate proposal. I am not sure off the top of my head what the alternate proposal, quote unquote, solution is for a OTA. My gut feel is probably pretty fluid. But if I tell you that as an affirmative on this podium, that's going to be your answer you leave with, and I want you to leave with that. Let me leave it with, I don't know, we'll let you know through one of our forums. You want to touch base with Connie or Scott Stewart or Vanessa McCollum or Yolanda who procured this, he can let you know. But my gut feel is likely, but I want to leave you that final answer, and then you walk away and think you heard a definitive answer on the question. But great questions, though.
Thank you, Mr. Packard.
So, Jim, are we going to move right into, we're early, we can move right into the Meet the Seniors?
Yes, sir.
Cool. All right, over to you.
All right. Thank you, sir. This does conclude the main portion of our program.